You have price, speed, and quality. You cannot have all three.
Right.
Something has to give.
Right.
If you're on price, you're going to have to give up speed or quality. You want quality, you're going to have to give up price or speed. We are back with another episode of The Julius Files. I am your host, Jason Julius, and today we have an Entrepreneurial Chronicle. We are blessed with Miss Gena Martin of Gena Martin Realty. Gena, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
Doing good?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's GMR Realty.
GMR Realty. Okay, I stand corrected. Well, and I mean, you do have quite the bio here, but I like to go all the way back to like start at an earlier time of life to see how you actually came up and decided to pursue entrepreneurship in general. But let's dive right in with that. Let's and I mean, everybody, we had one lady that picked 2 years old to actually start with. But I mean,
wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, feel free to go backwards as far as you would like to go. But I mean, where did things start for you in general? I mean, you're well established here in Kokomo, so but I don't know the actual background itself or where you've actually started in life.
So you want the whole story?
So let's just do the whole story.
Okay, well, it's not going to be 2 years old because I don't even remember that. I'm not sure. Let's see. I had a father who had several of his own businesses when I was younger, but at the same time, he was a blue-collar worker at Chrysler.
Okay.
We lived all the way in Thorntown, Indiana. I don't know if you know where that is. And he would drive to Kokomo every day.
So he had high side hustles then?
Yeah, he did. He had antiques. He was into antiques, so he had an antique store, and he had a furniture stripping business. So he did out of his pool building at home. So he redid furniture for people and sold furniture. So I remember a little bit of that stuff. I was probably under 10 when he started a lot of that stuff. And then, so as far as how I got into it, in high school, I don't know. I've always been competitive, I guess. I've always kind of did my own thing and didn't really listen to anyone else. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, I mean, because entrepreneurship does. I think every entrepreneur starts off as that stubborn, hard-headed. Like, I don't want you to tell me what it is or how it's going to be. I'm going to get out there and learn it for myself. I'm
definitely that. You can ask my husband even today. So my husband's that way too.
Okay.
So he went to the military. We got married. We were high school sweethearts, 9th grade.
Really?
We started dating. So he went to the military. I worked as a waitress in my teenage years. I did fast food when we were married because he was in the military. I did a grocery store. Nothing I really liked. Eventually, when he was out of the military, we were still young, probably 20, 21. Of course, your dad that works at Chrysler wants to get you a good job.
Absolutely.
Work at Chrysler, get the good pay, get all the benefits. So
come
that's
in and
what
push
we
this
did.
button 2,000 times a day.
That's what we did. We both got a job at Chrysler. Hated it. Absolutely hated walking in that building every day.
Really?
You worked at Chrysler too?
No, I guess everybody has their own journey there because I don't have anything bad to say about Chrysler. Yeah. I mean, but my grandfather was there for almost 50 years, and my dad wanted nothing to do with it. I didn't have a frame of reference. I'm like, Chrysler, like, that's a brand name. That's good money. Yeah, I'll go in there to make. Right. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and
I'm not saying it's a bad place at all. It just was not for me. I couldn't stand being stuck in a building every day, no windows,
exactly
like that. But I worked there probably 6 years. I was getting ready to have my third child, so we decided we would allow me to quit because I would never send my kids to daycare. So we worked separate shifts.
Really? Okay.
For the 6 years. Yep. And so with the third child, we were like, no. Everybody told me I'd be back. I said, no, I won't. We started a landscape business. Actually, before that, I should probably mention, when we worked at Chrysler, we were dabbling in businesses. We even stood at Indiana Beach one time with these weird figurines, the weirdest animal head figurines, trying to sell these things at some event they had for people to sell stuff.
Okay.
So we were doing stuff like that.
No,
we were young.
Because my memories of Indiana Beach, I got many memories there, but I wasn't trying to sell nothing. Me and Dad were cruising beside the actual Indiana Beach on Lake Schaefer.
Yeah.
So but I do think that that's pretty cool. That you and your husband, as high school sweethearts, both kind of had a motivation and an entrepreneurial bug beyond actual just going. Because I know some people that 2 Chrysler incomes can make for a very comfortable life.
Oh yeah, my dad did it.
But
he worked all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which we kind of do too.
Yeah. No, just in a different
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that was real early 20s that we were doing that. So we were already thinking, how do we make money? How do we get in some kind of business or side hustle where we make money?
Now, was it even at that time, was it a thought, how do we start something that will get us out of here? Or was it just hey, we got extra time, how do we start something as a side hustle?
Well, when we first got jobs at Chrysler, we were all good for it's good money, benefits, all that. So I think it was more of a side hustle to make more money. And then thinking that we could sell these, and if they really took off, we could just mail them out. So we wouldn't even have to go places to sell them or meet people. So we were just trying to find a way to make extra money at home. Obviously, that didn't go real great that day. It was super hot. We were sweating. We didn't have a canopy. So we were not doing good that day.
So was that like a one and done?
Well, we tried to sell them a little bit online, but it wasn't anything that really took off.
Okay.
So we kind of let that go. We ended up starting a landscape business later, a few years later. Well, it's probably jumped because that was in 2004.
Well, and that's what, so let's back up a little bit. You tried something, didn't necessarily go well.
Right.
So was there a recoil, or was there just okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try something new?
I don't think it was a recoil as much as we were just busy with kids and just kind of living life, going to Chrysler.
Because 2 full-time jobs with 2 kids and a third, and I'm like, that's a full life in itself.
And we were at Chrysler, we were interested in saving as much money as we could because we wanted to buy our first house, which we did. And I think that our main focus was just family, home, and all that. So,
so landscaping, which is a seasonal business.
It's
a
hard business.
Oh yeah.
So we were still quite young when we started that, 2004. Not like 21 young, but we were still young enough we could do all the labor.
Yep.
So we started that in 2004. My husband worked still at Chrysler full time, and he had a full crew. We had like 1 million square feet in Lafayette area.
Really?
So we had it was 4 or 5 employees that were running all our mowers.
What possessed you to go to Lafayette?
Well, in Kokomo, they don't pay as well as Lafayette. You have a lot of the little guys that are, I'll mow this for $25 or $50, you know, instead of, you got the guy with all the, the equipment and insurance and licenses, and, you can't make money doing that. So we did a lot of Purdue research.
But break that down a little bit, because that's the stuff that I definitely want people to know. Because when I got in business, it was like, I'll do anything to meet people, to get my name out there. And after a couple of years, I'm like, you know what, if I can't make money doing this, I'm not expending labor to actually do this.
Well, this is going to get on a whole nother topic when you start.
But that's the point is the lessons learned.
Yeah.
That's so, definitely.
Yeah, because, people they want things. You always see stuff where like, where can I get a roofer for really cheap? I can't afford it. I need it cheap. But you don't really want cheap, because you really do get what you pay for most of the time.
And that's what I was about to say. It's like you have price, speed, and quality. You cannot have all three.
Right.
Something has to give.
Right.
If you're on price, you're going to have to give up speed or quality. You want quality, you're going to have to give up price or speed. And it's like they want their cake and eat it too. And it's like, no, it doesn't happen that way. If you want a good quality product, first and foremost, even if it does get done fast, it's going to cost more money And I don't know why people have such a hard time wrapping their brain around that when you want cheap, then don't bitch when you actually get cheap.
Well, the higher price guy, he's going to be licensed and insured. He probably has a program, especially in something like landscaping, where, you're putting the size of the yard down and all this stuff. And it's really getting the price locked in at a specific level. They're not just shooting out a number to you.
Yep.
And they're also thinking, like a roofer, if I have to go back and fix something that they don't like or whatever, there's adjustments for that and stuff, where the other guy might not show up to come and fix anything. So there's just there's better things when you hire them.
Well, and there's a difference between factoring those things in and service, and that is running a legitimate business that you have to factor in and build in those costs, and that's where the higher price points come from.
Yes.
As opposed to that cheap, but is he going to show up?
Right.
Is he going to get it done in a timely manner? And then when you don't like something, is he going to show back up and actually fix it?
Or is he going to do it after I give him half down?
There you go. That's exactly.
So you want to go back to this? Okay, where'd I end up?
No, the thing is, you were, so you started the landscaping business, and it sounds to me like it got off on a fairly good...
It was good for years for us. It paid us well. And then 2008 came, which was a few years later, when we had a market...
The recession.
Turned down, yes.
Yep.
And we started buying rentals, paying cash for foreclosures. Okay, that comes from reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Really?
Yes.
So, was that a combination of just you using your income from Chrysler, or were you taking profits from the landscaping and putting into real estate?
Probably a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could buy some houses around here pretty cheap at that time, so.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. Rich Dad, Poor Dad kind of changed our whole mindset with money and business and all that. So that's where we started looking for the rentals. So, of course, once we got a couple of those, that helped us more with some income. And then as we've gotten a little older, the landscaping industry wasn't so fun. And just so you know, so after the first 2 years of landscaping, we kind of went down a little bit and took less because as we're getting older, we're not wanting to fully be in landscaping. We just know it's going to be too hard.
So, are you still in landscaping?
Barely. My son's mostly does.
Okay, but you're talking like you started something in 2004. It's been going for almost a couple decades now.
Years.
Okay.
Yeah. So we both worked in it. We got rid of some of the guys. We didn't need him. Decided it was quicker. We were quicker because we didn't need lunch breaks and all that. And we got patterns figured out. So me and my husband and my son helped for a while when he was younger. But so we did that. We decided we kind of went out. So it's kind of been going down just because we haven't been taking on things. And then we was hoping my son would take it over. He's now 23. He didn't want it when he was like 19 or 20, which is when we wanted to hand it off with contracts with it.
Yep.
So,
but that goes back to that old saying: if you're not growing, you're dying, and you quit trying to grow it.
We weren't growing it.
Yep.
He didn't want it, and we knew we were getting out of it.
Okay.
He's since kind of changed his mind. You know how kids are.
Oh, no,
They don't want to listen to Paris.
But at this point, it's like, okay, now you're behind the eight ball.
Yeah,
with you.
It's just not where it was.
Yeah.
So, it's there, but now it's more like a handyman thing, and it's kind of for my son to keep going. So, we got the rentals, and I kept telling my husband I should get in real estate, because I always had people coming up to me saying, have you heard of buying on contract and stuff like that? And then they want me to teach them. And I'm like, why don't I just get my real estate license? And we kind of just put it off. And then in 2012 is when I decided I'm getting my real estate license. And I knew going in that when you become a realtor, you have to work for a broker for 2 years. And I knew going in, I was not going to stay with the broker, and my husband knew. Okay. He's like, we're not staying with the company. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Well, because, I remember I was hearing this other guy's story, and he talked like it had a similar path in that he got into rentals, but at the point at which he became a realtor, it actually got harder for him because now he was licensed and there was a bunch of extra disclosures, disclaimers that he was required to participate in, because now he was not just an investor, he was a broker or
as soon as I got my license, there's just a whole different code of ethics you have to follow and legalities, or you could get in big trouble for sure. Yeah, but
so you complicated it a little bit in order to open up a different. Okay.
Yeah, kinda.
So so you become a licensed realtor, and 2 years of basically serving under somebody else.
Someone else. Okay. 2 years and probably a few months. My husband actually would push me. He's like, come on, time to go. And you think it's going to be this huge thing. I got to take over this huge thing and keep up all the documents and dates and all this stuff. But it's actually, that stuff that gets in your head.
Yep.
It's been great since I went on my own.
Really?
I opened up a building at first, a commercial building, but I never used it, and I knew I wouldn't when I opened it. So I've let that go.
Was about to say, at the time, was it like you got to have it for legitimacy, or?
Well, people think you need an office.
Yeah, no.
For some reason.
I think they've given that up in
the pandemic.
Yes.
I feel like I was way ahead of the ball when I started real estate. I feel like I was so far ahead of everyone, because everyone thought you had to be in the office. Just, I did everything on my computer. I never called people into my office, in which you'd see other people calling people in their office. And it was weird to me, but I knew I wouldn't work that way.
Okay.
So when I got the commercial building, and my husband told me I didn't need it. He's like, you don't need it, but whatever, we'll try it. And I never used it, so why pay for it?
Exactly.
But you know
it's
what?
Overhead.
That gets used against me in competition.
Really?
I've had people, sellers say, I was told to ask you where your office is. I'm like, well, this is 2022.
Okay, that's what I was about to say. Surely you've got, at this point, you've been set up enough that you've got a clever comeback.
Well, I did anyway. It was 2021 or 2020, and then the pandemic came.
Yep.
And we're all doing that anyway.
Exactly.
So.
Because the thing is that I knew that would be a piece of the conversation. I see a train wreck coming.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the first person, or one of the first, like when I saw what was going on with the pandemic, I was like, okay, what does this mean? It means people are becoming more accepting of their people working from home. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Well, that means you do not have a need for corporate office space. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? It means that even the people that are still operating, they're not going to renew their leases.
Yeah.
What does that mean? A whole lot of corporate office space going open and unrented, and landlords, unless they own the buildings outright, are not going to be able to make mortgage payments. Yeah. What does that mean? It means commercial real estate crashes. And generally, where commercial crashes, residential's not too far behind.
Yeah.
And then seeing the Fed has now, signaled they're going to increase by another 0.5%. I'm like, well, I already saw a cooling off in the market by seeing that 0.25% move, 0.5%. And don't get me wrong, I guess people will maybe disagree or differ with it, but the point being, it's needed. Like, this hyperinflation has to be brought under control. But these are logical conclusions in my head. What are you seeing, or what do you see in that crystal ball coming in the impending months and years?
I see lots coming. I don't want to scare people, so I'm not going to get too deep into it.
My mentor said, you know what, we still have to operate in reality today. You can be optimistic into the future.
Even if things get real bad, you got to operate, but you got to know how to go. You got to know how to change and how to sell differently than the easy. These have been easy times. There are so many realtors right now that have jumped in. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of them are going to leave as soon as things start getting bad, because it's so easy to sell right now.
Well, and I know a lot of mortgage guys that busted in 08 and 09. Yeah. And I'm like, the mortgage side of it in all of this has been coming really easy as well.
Yeah.
What is the future? I'm not in real estate. I've just seen enough of history.
I see commercial, what you're saying. I see commercial getting hurt. Mm-hmm. I watch a lot of market news because
Okay.
I do some market videos, but I see a lot of them saying the same thing. And I don't know if commercial will totally fail. It'll fail commercially for businesses. I think that's coming. But since inventory in housing is so short, or
Next
we
to
don't have the
nothing.
inventory,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if those could be used or might be used for housing in the future.
Well, I mean,
Switched.
just like downtown, a lot of that went towards the upper
The
residential.
mixed use.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they could flip those and put in residential.
Okay, I could see.
And
So I need to go up and buy the commercial and then get it rezoned for
you
residential.
could put residential in there.
Okay.
The idea, right?
Well, no, but it is. That's the. And don't get. I happen to live in one of those downtown that is a mixed use. But I wondered about could the downstairs be turned into residential, or I mean, and I don't know a whole lot about rezoning, but I know that rezoning would have to occur in order to do that.
I mean, you already have residential downtown.
Yep.
And usually on rezoning, you just have to have like. So if you're trying to rezone a commercial to residential, if there's enough like residential there,
Okay.
then it shouldn't be an issue. It's going to depend on how the town wants it, everything set up.
There we go.
We know how all that goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how I guess I don't want. The last thing I want to do is get political or offend anybody in local politics. I'm not trying to go there, but I mean, you can't. It ain't no different than Kokomo went from one of the fastest dying to one of the fastest growing. Okay, because there was a certain amount of changing gears. Here we are. We're definitely at a place where potentially there's another gear change that has to occur.
Yeah. Residential, I kind of already feel tides turning there.
Okay.
It's slowing down somewhat. Probably have buyers that are leaving because they can't afford now. So basically, if your interest rate goes from, I think I read one the other day, it was like 2.73 to 3.07, so it's not that much.
Yeah.
The house payment went up like $500.
There you go.
Or you needed $19,000 more of income to
in order
make
just to be able to qualify.
that house payment.
Okay.
So I could see why buyers would be leaving the scene. You know, if they were already at the top of their game trying to find something,
Yeah.
they're just not going to be able to afford it. So you're going to lose a lot of first-time home buyers, and they were a big part of what's been going on.
Of what's been fueling the.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of them looking for houses. So
I mean, going back to that, the 08, 09, I mean, the adjustable mortgage is what did them in.
yeah,
We have a lot of that out there right now.
no, but they're talks
Is
that
there?
they're coming.
Oh,
yeah, so
okay.
that's going to be a thing again. And from what I feel and what I hear, is they're going to be doing a lot of incentives and tricky stuff to make things work, which I don't necessarily agree to.
Well, but the thing is, when they make it work, it's like they're making it work for this snapshot in time.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it
Right.
works. It just means that it works in this
Right.
absolute moment, but moments never stay the same. That's
And I'm one that I'm not out to sell a house just to sell a house and make money. I feel like a buyer is getting in. I don't want a buyer to get into something that they can't afford later because that is just not good.
no. I mean, there was a whole lot of allowing people to get into homes that they had no business getting into is what caused the problem to begin
Right.
with. That's
And I even have a hard time now. I'm like, some of these houses, like, people are paying high dollar for something, or way over $20,000 over for a house. And I'm like, that's
20. I mean,
probably not a good idea. I mean, if it goes on long enough, or you're going to be here for 20 years, you're probably good. But if you plan on selling in 4 or 5 years, it could be a mistake.
yeah. Well, and I mean, so my sister relocated from DC to Fort Collins, Colorado. Found her a home, going rate down there, over there, $400,000 for this home. And I mean, it's not a bad home, but it's nothing extravagant.
Right.
And verbally worked out an agreement that at the point that from rent to purchase, $400,000 is what they agreed on. Took her 24 months to execute. In that 24 months, well, then the homeowner, I want what the market will bear.
Of course.
$500,000.
Oh, wow.
It went up in value, $100,000 in 2 years. And I'm like, no, it didn't. The dollar was devalued by 25%
Right.
over the last 24 months, But the value, that's right. I guess that's my biggest issue is that people are trying to wrap their brains around understanding how something has increased in value over the last 24 months. And I'm like, it didn't increase in value, but the dollar decreased in value.
And it's been doing that for years.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, in a little bit of inflation, it creeps along. You really don't see it happening. But in the last 24 months, we've really observed at a hyper rate that, and you're directly in an industry that it's...
I am.
Well, not to be Chrysler. I mean, I remember when in 1994, like the most expensive Chrysler car that you could buy with all the bells and whistles was $40,000. Today it's 125. And I'm like, you can buy a home for 125. I mean, I'm like, and we're talking about a vehicle.
Rentals.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. But can you really today? Can you really buy a couple rentals that are in livable status for you? Still
I could find a couple rentals. Okay. Yes, definitely.
Then you're still dealing in a product-rich market for, and I guess I should say that. I mean, so if you have moved into real estate, are you still building your rental portfolio or slower? I
mean, every once in a while, because I have the advantage of talking to people first. I get a deal worth not passing up. It's harder now for sure. And there's still going to be some things you're probably going to have to fix on it for sure if you're going to get a good deal.
Yeah.
But it's still
no
doable.
Opportunity comes without problems.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's still doable. I mean, it's not, I think in 2008, I bought mine for like $15,000. It's not that good.
Okay. No, I'm like, I don't think that that's attainable today.
Yeah, it's not that good, but I think that's coming. Have you seen? Foreclosures are starting to come on the market.
Well, and that's where I'm going to be honest with you. It was like, because in all of my businesses, I'm like, okay, I quit watching the news because I don't need 98% propaganda for just the 2%. But so I lose out on that 2% of legitimate good information.
Yeah.
But I see the headlines, and like I said, I mean, over the years, I'm not a dummy. When the Fed signals moving rates, that changes things, so I don't know where we are in our foreclosure markets. But I went to a conference, and the presenter of the conference laid out a graph, and he said, if interest rates move by 1%, 90% of America is not capable of maintaining.
Yeah.
And that can only mean foreclosures and a cascading effect in itself.
And most of the foreclosures that are coming out right now, though, are more on evictions from them allowing people to stay in the homes without paying.
Squatters. Is it squatters or I don't...
It's, I mean, they're kind of squatters when they won't leave or won't pay. But when the government was giving or telling landlords that they couldn't evict their people for not paying or their tenants for not paying, you know, some of those states had tenants that were in there for a couple of years, and if you were still paying the mortgage on the place, I mean, that hurts.
Well, no, I know major real estate investors that they won't buy in California or New York because the government is not on the real estate owner's side, and they're like, you don't ever actually own it there because they can squat without paying, and the government defends them, not you as the actual real estate owner.
Well, this was the special circumstances due to the pandemic.
Okay.
Well, now all those evictions are starting to come through. Courts are, all backed up with them, and we're going to be seeing foreclosures because there's also a lot of landlords selling properties now because you don't know what's coming down the line if they decide to shut stuff down again.
Yeah.
And a lot of them can't go through that again.
And that's what I was about ready to say is that, I mean, if you're talking about the people that own the real estate and not able to collect rents, that had to have just about sapped them for everything they had just to maintain quote unquote ownership.
I'm sure it really hurt a lot of them. Some of them probably lost their business
everything
through it. Yeah, for sure. Lost some of the rentals, and they may be in foreclosure with rentals. Who knows?
Now, is that something is that something you personally encountered, or is that something that you saw happening?
I did not, but I did learn some things about tenants. I was very fortunate because all my tenants had jobs.
Okay.
That wouldn't shut down. UPS, nurse, stuff like that.
Okay.
So they went to work no matter what.
Yeah.
So I actually was fortunate and didn't deal with any of that.
Well, and I do not understand how you get told to sit at home and you draw an income that is as much or more than you were making, but yet be allowed to not pay your rent and not be evicted, which is what I saw.
Yeah.
I saw people being told to go home. They were given free money by the government and told you don't have to keep up on your bills, even though we're paying you as much or more than what you were making at work.
But people with good character would pay their bills anyway.
Okay.
Do you feel that? I mean, if someone told me I didn't have to pay my bills, for one, I'm not going to want to get behind on any bills, whatever it is, because there's always a catch up at the end or a string attached.
There's nothing's free.
But
in
I
life.
feel like people of good character, I don't know if that's the word to use, but
No,
are
honestly, I think it
continue
is.
to pay people and not hurt them by not making payments.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
The high character thing, it would be a no-brainer to me. If I have the money, pay the bills so that you don't get behind.
Sure.
But I'm not going to deny that when you're legitimately telling people, hey, you're not working, you're kind of out of that mindset in general. You're being locked down. And oh, by the way, you don't have to pay your bills. I mean, I do know that there were people out there that were like, okay, I don't know what's going on, and I'm told I don't have to pay this bill. And since I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, I'm not going to pay this bill.
Sure.
But again, cascading effect, sooner or later, all of that stuff has to catch up with the overall economy in general.
Right. Yeah, I could get that. I mean, if they're seriously having trouble, but my point is if they're not and they know they're okay, they should probably just help the next person out that has a bill too.
And you know what though, and I mean, this is where, because I don't think it's a character issue. People are very selfish and self-serving, and I don't think that they're thinking about the next person.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're thinking about, well, if I don't pay this, they're not able to pay this, which means they're not able to pay this.
Right.
And the domino or the cascading effect of that ain't no different than our supply chain. People don't understand why our supply chain's breaking. Yeah. Well, when you do this, that stops this from happening. That stops this from happening. And then before you know it, you don't just snap your fingers and it all comes back together and starts working all over again.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so we are in 2022. And you have now been gone from Chrysler, I would say you've been gone from Chrysler longer than you were there, or it was a part of your life?
Yes, 1999 is when I quit Chrysler.
Really? And I left in 2007.
My son's 23, so 23 years I've been out of Chrysler. I could almost be retired.
Don't get me started.
I'd be there 29 years.
That's honestly, I was sitting here, I would have been, this year would have been 28 years.
Yeah.
I'd had 2 more years to go had I stayed. And I'm not going to deny that. I mean, I've reflected on that because it was easy money. I say it was easy money. It was not, the work was not hard. I mean, it was monotonous.
Yeah.
You had to battle with the temperatures and stuff. Although I'm being told now that that's not the way the plants are.
Yeah.
I'm told you could almost eat off the floors now, and that
Really?
the climate is quite tolerable now.
Yeah.
But back in those days, no. I mean, it was
breathing in the oils in the field.
yes,
Probably not
exactly.
good.
And I mean, I remember working by heat treat. That was the first time I shaved my head, just because it just got that hot that I'm like, oh, something's got to give.
Yeah. I still had long hair. I couldn't shave mine.
No,
I wouldn't look as good, probably.
Never made your husband shave his?
Oh, he's always had a military cut since he's been in the military.
So, the thing, how long did he stay?
At Chrysler?
Yeah.
Oh, he took the buyout. So he was probably there 12 years, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
he ran that landscaping business, worked thirds. He'd get up and go mow, or come home from work and go mow and all that for several years. So.
And that's tough.
Yeah.
To work third shift and roll into a day shift job, I mean, that's tough.
Yeah.
And I mean, landscaping it's not easy work. I love being outside, but working amongst outside elements,
it can be.
Yeah.
You got to get it done no matter what when you are servicing others. So.
Exactly. So, so real estate are the rentals in autopilot and full-time real estate. What's
still getting deals when I can, but it's slower. Basically just selling real estate. Yeah, selling commercial and residential.
From your mobile office?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I do property management, so that keeps me busy. And
Okay. I mean, so is that an arm to the overall, or?
yeah, you have to be a licensed agent to do property management, so that's
Okay.
just another arm on my company. Yep.
You know, I mean, because like we were talking about this offline, that another piece for you to manage and make function. And I mean, like, so do you do that with just contractors, or do you have employees, or is this just another piece that you have to be conscious of managing?
We're kind of like a family thing. Like, we do everything kind of networking to help each other out.
Okay.
Be me, my husband, and all my kids, because we've raised 3 kids entrepreneurially. So my oldest daughter, who's big into fitness, she's a personal trainer and does prepping food and does a lot of online stuff
Really?
for fitness. She just got more involved with me because we want to grow the property management side, and she's really wanting to get involved in that. So we're getting ready to take off and grow that more. My middle daughter, is a realtor under me.
Okay.
She kind of does things behind the scenes because she's more interested in raising babies right now, which is good. I like her to be able to be home with them and stuff like that. But, everything's done on the computer, so she can still work behind the scenes.
So much. I mean, just the technology, so much has moved online.
Yeah, which it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, so that bodes well to, I say that bodes well. You don't have to necessarily deal with employees, but you also have to deal with the family dynamic actually inside of the business.
Yeah. Not bad at all. All my kids have kind of been around this kind of stuff their whole life. I forgot to mention, we went from landscaping. We owned a MMA cage fighting business, Colosseum Combat. You know that.
No, I didn't.
We sold that.
Oh, I didn't know that you were involved
We
in
started
that.
that.
You started Colosseum
Yes.
Combat.
Yes.
I did not know that.
We built the cage. My husband and his friends built the cage by hand, and
Really?
they still have the same cage. We did that for probably 5 or 6 years.
So you successfully built that and sold that then?
Yeah. We even took that show to Alabama about 3 times. We were down to Alabama, one of their big.
Wow. So where did that come from?
My husband
Okay.
does jujitsu,
Really?
and his friend. Well, he has a lot of friends that do the fighting stuff, but one of his friends that was into it, we just decided that we were all going to start a different one. We didn't like how they were being ran and how they were. Back in the day, you could just go pick someone to do a fight out of the audience, and we didn't really like that. We wanted blood testing, and we wanted more of a show.
Okay.
So we decided to get involved and do it. It was fun. It's a whole different crowd and stuff.
A different world because I mean that's a lot of promoting and lining up talent and wow.
I sold the beer.
You were the beer girl.
Yep. My parents were at the door doing tickets. So again, it was a kind of a family thing. Yeah. My kids have been around it since they were very small. So they always knew the fight and stuff. That was fun. But then, we have the rental business and then pretty much it. Because now real estate's taken over a lot of it. My son has a handyman business and he kind of does a lot of stuff in that area for property management.
That's just very say that's got to lend very well to the property management side of it.
Yeah, we always try to network together if we can. Sometimes we go outside, but
I mean it's fascinating in itself just because you've been able to generally keep it in the family and develop the resources to keep everything because it's like there is 100 different hats that you have to wear in order to actually function in any type of business.
Yeah.
But you've been successfully able to divide up those hats amongst different people that you have more of a closer personal connection with.
Yeah. Well, we kind of have the belief that, family's supposed to be there. If a family, my husband's a big preacher on this, a family if they would all help and feed each other, you could really take off and grow the whole family and their each thing or together. And people just don't do that anymore, it seems like.
No, I mean, and we go, I'll probably screw this up. The whole blood is thicker than water.
Yeah.
That was not the original statement.
Yeah.
That was not the original intent of the statement. It was actually quite the opposite.
Yeah.
What was it, Matt? It was the blood of the covenant is thicker than the blood of the womb. I believe that was the statement. But the point is that the real statement was loyalties developed in battle are stronger than blood loyalties.
Yeah.
But in the Bible Belt, in the very much the conservative part of the country, it's like, no, they really gravitated towards that blood is thicker than water.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the true intent. And I mean, like the military, I mean, those guys, they go and they develop bonds and loyalties with each other that are stronger than family bonds because they bonded with each other in battle, and they had to truly, their wills were tested, and they had to depend on each other.
Yeah.
And then you go to the other side of it, where I've seen firsthand that generally with family, you're expected to tolerate out of family what you wouldn't tolerate out of somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't personally subscribe to that.
Yeah, I either.
But it sounds like you have a very strong knit family.
We do, but we've strived for that. I mean, it takes work. You've got to want to be with your family and work at it. It doesn't just, you don't get close just by
and that's
living your lives. You have to make it work. We try to have, family dinners or hang out at the pool or whatever a lot. So you got to work to keep your family together.
And I think you got to work at any relationship in general, but that's where I'm like, look, you don't hear too often about today. If we see old people, and I say old people, I'm like people in their 70s and 80s, and you find out that they were high school sweethearts, you're like, oh, that's like yesteryear. Yeah, they don't talk about that stuff anymore because you don't, that is so rare today.
Right.
People that are our age, I'm like, to hear that you and your husband were high school sweethearts and you're still together and happy and you build a family and all of you are working together. Okay, yeah, that takes work.
Yeah.
But there's also got to be some kind of secret sauce, some kind of like,
there's not really a secret sauce. I mean, marriage is hard work.
Okay.
I mean, you're together all the time, and especially when you work together. And we're together all the time.
No, that's what I'm saying is that high school sweetheart and you guys are living together and working together and doing it successfully.
Well, we're both no quitters.
Okay.
We don't quit. I mean, as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't even know the definition. And maybe sometimes to my dismay, I don't know the definition, but you found somebody else that feels the same way.
He's probably worse than me.
Okay.
It's just a no quitter. I mean, every marriage, when you're married that long, you're going to have hard times or a hard month or whatever, but you work through it. You don't quit. I mean, you have a whole family that you would disrupt.
Yeah.
So we just don't. I mean, what's your vows say? For better or for worse? Till death do you part.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that. I mean, I also know that my mentor is one of my mentors. He's really, really big about you want. How is it that he puts it? You either want if you don't want relationships that bleed you. You want relationships that feed you.
Yeah.
And I think that just generally applies across the board.
Yeah.
Two people meet each other, they either grow together or they grow apart. And like I said, trust me, I mean, me and my ex-wife divorced in 2001. We're still 20 years later, still trying because I don't know the meaning of quit.
Right.
And it was, I mean, when you lose a child, the statistics say 95% don't, that kind of tragedy, they're not going to be together. Sure. And I was like, okay, I don't care about those odds. No, I mean, there are certain reasons why.
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're getting beat on or something like that too, I wouldn't suggest you stay together. But.
Oh, no. But I'm sitting there going, but there's got to be some type of like just extra something that that chemistry wise, something that is just, you guys can't stay together for your entire life just because you like each other. I mean, and in my mind, I'm like, there's got to be that extra something that keeps that love, that spark, that passion together. Do you guys just have a mutual passion for business that has really served the relationship well?
I mean, we both like the entrepreneur thing. We both work hard. We both can, like, stuff I need done that a man could do, he does, or vice versa.
So there's a good complimenting there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. No, totally fair.
Yeah.
So we are in 2022 and looking forward. What does the future hold? I mean, what are you don't sit here and build an entrepreneurial, your own little piece of the world and just stop here, because if you're not growing, you're dying. You don't strike me as somebody that's...
You got to keep working.
So,
I think we're all in question with what's going on in the world now as to which way we're going with the pandemics and stuff. So that's kind of held us back a little bit, just because you don't really know what road to take at this moment. In all actuality, we do all this for our kids.
Okay.
What's going to be left for them? We don't really give them a lot now. We make them work for pretty much. We've always made them work for pretty much everything they have.
Good.
Since they've been teens.
When I say good, I'm like,
yeah.
This generation has not had to work hard enough.
Yeah. For
what they have, in my opinion. Too much has been given to them. So I mean, I applaud you if you're.
Well, our kids, they've never made good employees, because we've always taught them, like in our landscaping, for instance, you want to get the job done because you make more money if you get it done quick, and then you can be done with your day.
Yep.
So they don't make good employees, because, like, my daughters worked at Sunspot for a while, but they would get their stuff done because they worked in the kitchen making the food in like an hour or two. And then they leave, but they're not making any money.
Exactly, because they're not on the clock making money. Okay, I get it.
But we've always trained them, if you get a job, don't get it for the money.
Okay.
Get it to learn. Yep. Learn the system while you're on that job. So if you want to open a store, you know the system. If you want to open up a restaurant, you know the system. We've always taught them that.
And that right there, because I've said, I wish that because I started working full time at 14. Yeah. I wanted to work. I wanted to make money. I wish I had paid more attention in those moments to the systems that I was working in, right. Because everything that I've learned has been applicable to the next. But I mean, that is a major realization for you to be able to pass on to your children, to say, don't work to earn, don't work for somebody to learn. So you put them in a place where they're going into those systems actively thinking about, I'm learning. Here to learn.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My oldest daughter, she'll be 31 this month, actually just recently told us it just all clicked for her. What we have done for them for, their whole life, even though they fought us at it, and what we could all work together and do now. And so it takes a little while for all that to click into your kids'
31?
heads. She's 31.
Okay. No, because just that light bulb. Like I was 25 when that light bulb went off. But for me, that light bulb was like, okay, I realized I didn't know half of what I thought I knew, and I had so much more to learn. And that was at 25. And I mean, honestly, I'm looking at my son at 25 going, I don't know if when's that light bulb going to go off? And you're saying for your daughter, it was 31. Okay.
She probably knew a little earlier, but she's
everything's really starting to click.
Yeah. All she's had available this whole time, that she could just she'd have a head start on launching something, because of everything that we already have going on. So she's came to that realization.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, as we start wrapping up, I put this podcast together because I wanted to bring principles that I wish had been available to me when I got into business. but principles for success in life and business. Do you have any words of wisdom that if you would want to leave out there for the listeners as to principles of success that if somebody wanted to get into entrepreneurship or just a certain way that you have found to successfully live life that you would want to impart?
Sure. Probably first would be, like we were just talking about, if what do you love to do? If you go into a business to work, learn. Mm-hmm. Don't just be there to make money. Learn, because that can give you so much information to get started. What else? Probably once you get into entrepreneurship or trying to get there, this would fall on my favorite book, the 80-20 rule.
I have that on my list. It's actually sitting on my front table. I just haven't actually read it yet. Yeah.
But I guess strive to find the best way to get to where you want to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of a hard thing to do, even as a longtime entrepreneur sometimes, because sometimes people make it a lot harder on themselves than it needs to be. It's pretty simple. The work's hard, but it's pretty simple at the same time.
The concept.
And probably my last and major thing would be to get a mentor, someone that is doing good things, the things that you like or want to do, because hands-on and learning or watching from a mentor's going to get you somewhere probably 100% times faster than just trying to do it on your own.
Well, and can you touch on the 80-20 principle? I mean, obviously, that's what I said. The book is out there, and I have not read the actual book in general.
Like
but
what it is?
Yeah, for the listeners, I mean, like what generally speaking is the 80-20 principle?
It is basically like 20% of the work causes 80% of the action. So like in a sales office, probably more than likely 20% of the salespeople are making 80% of the profit.
Okay.
20% of a manufacturing place is probably making 80%, or 20% of it manufacturers altogether is making 80% of the stuff that needs manufacturing.
Of the end product. Okay.
So that's basically the principle.
So 20% of the effort is making 80% of the outcome.
Right.
Okay.
And it was started by a guy in Italy who realized that 20% of his peas in his garden were making 80% of the peas.
Okay.
And that 20% of the population owned 80% of the land in Italy.
Okay.
So they started doing studies about it, and it just seems to always fall in line.
So just out of curiosity, before I read the book, did he isolate the 20% and then stop growing the other 80%?
Well, on the peas,
yeah,
it was just a realization for him at first.
Okay.
He didn't actually do a study. He just kept seeing that was kind of happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, because I mean, if you can pinpoint the 20% that's producing 80% of the result, then you can cut out 80% of the hassle that's not actually producing any real result.
Yeah. But you can do that in business.
Okay.
Like the thing with business using that is you need to find the 20% of the things that are getting you the results you're getting in your business. What's getting you your leads or, your clients.
Yep.
And you focus on just that 20%, and you don't have to focus on the 80%. Of course, if it's filing taxes or something, you probably should do that. But but the gist is get that 20%, maybe only work 3 or 4 hours a day instead of a full day. Okay. Because you're concentrating on that effort.
Yep.
And bringing the same results.
No, I mean, and don't get me wrong, that's what I said, is that I got books everywhere, but I've got a stack of books, and it's in the middle of one of the stacks of books, and I mean, generally I'm somewhere between 2 and 4 a week, and it's a question of where am I going to pull. Yeah. And a previous guest recommended that I read Traction, and I just read that a couple weeks ago, and he strongly recommended it, and it was a great read. And looking at implementing a lot of the principles. So I will definitely have to check out the 80-20 principle here very quickly. Okay. Okay, so as we do wrap up, Gena, where do people find you if they're looking to deal with you? If they're looking for your services, where do they find you in the world? How do they contact you?
Well, all my information is on gmrrealty.com.
Okay.
And I'm on all the social media sites and YouTube. So pretty easy to find me. Just Google Gena Martin Realtor.
There we go. Okay. All right. Well, we are going to wrap up this episode. So until next time, you guys have a good night.